On March 11, 2025, President Trump sent shockwaves through the global trade landscape. He announced a 50% tariff on Canadian steel and aluminum. This aggressive move was directly linked to Ontario's 25% tax on electricity exports to the United States. The tax was seen as a retaliatory measure by Ontario against earlier U.S. tariffs. However, the situation quickly shifted. Within hours, intense negotiations took place. Ontario Premier Doug Ford and U.S. Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick led the discussions. The result was a complete reversal of the threatened 50% tariffs. Despite the initial reprieve, tensions remained high. President Trump, during the tariff negotiations, also demanded Canada drop dairy tariffs. He even threatened to declare a national emergency over electricity imports. Further escalating the situation, Trump issued a new threat. He warned of imposing tariffs on Canadian auto imports by April 2nd. This move kept the Canadian government on edge, unsure of what the U.S. would do next. The initial tariff threat, though short-lived, exposed the fragility of the U.S.-Canada trade relationship. It signaled a new era of protectionist policies under the Trump administration. March 12, 2025, marked a turning point in U.S. trade policy. President Trump, disregarding the previous day's reversal, imposed sweeping tariffs. These tariffs, set at 25%, targeted all steel and aluminum imports. This move sent shockwaves across the globe. It impacted even close allies like Canada, who were now subject to the same tariffs as any other nation. The decision to implement universal tariffs without exemptions for allies marked a significant departure from previous administrations. Both the Trump and Biden administrations had imposed tariffs in the past. However, they always maintained exceptions for allied nations. This new approach signaled a more aggressive and unilateral approach to trade. The universal tariffs immediately impacted global markets. Stock indexes, which had been experiencing post-election gains, were wiped out. U.S. automakers, heavily reliant on imported steel and aluminum, saw their shares plummet. Within the U.S., domestic steel prices surged by 30%, while aluminum prices increased by 15%. This price hike, while potentially benefiting domestic producers, threatened to increase costs for manufacturers. Canada refused to accept the U.S. tariffs lying down. On March 12, 2025, the Canadian government announced retaliatory measures. These measures, carefully crafted to target key U.S. industries, were valued at 21 billion CAD, or 20.1 billion USD. The retaliatory tariffs focused on a range of U.S. goods. These included steel, aluminum, computers, sporting equipment, and cast iron products. This strategic selection aimed to exert maximum pressure on U.S. industries and lawmakers. The Canadian government defended its actions as a necessary response. Canadian officials, including Minister François-Philippe Champagne, called Trump's tariffs completely unjustified, unfair, and unreasonable. They argued that Canada, a close ally and trading partner, should not be treated as an economic threat. This sentiment resonated with many Canadians who viewed the tariffs as an attack on their nation's sovereignty. The Canadian government also sought to garner international support. They actively engaged with other U.S. trading partners who were similarly affected by the tariffs. This outreach aimed to build a united front against what they perceived as protectionist and harmful trade practices. Canada's retaliatory measures signaled a firm resolve. The international community reacted swiftly to the escalating trade tensions. The European Union, a significant trading bloc, announced retaliatory tariffs worth $28 billion on U.S. goods. This move reflected the EU's commitment to free trade and their condemnation of the U.S. unilateral actions. China, another major player in global trade, also indicated its intention to respond with countermeasures. While the specifics of China's response remained unclear, their stance highlighted the widespread disapproval of Trump's tariffs. Australia, while critical of the U.S. tariffs, opted for a more cautious approach. They announced that they would not immediately retaliate, but reserve the right to do so in the future. This measured response reflected Australia's desire to protect its interest while avoiding further escalation. Mexico, facing a deadline of April 2nd, was still deliberating its response. The Mexican government was caught in a difficult position. The U.S. was their largest trading partner, yet they were also determined to defend their economic interests.